Good morning, hi everyone. I'm here in my therapy room today, which I absolutely love, but it's a bit cold, so you can probably hear my heater whirring away there. And I wanted to do another little video for you all, and basically this one is about one of my most used spells. I get a lot of people asking me, obviously as being a witch, do I do spells? I'm drinking peppermint tea because it's freezing, so I'm holding my cup to keep me warm. Do I do spells? And obviously, as a witch, well, yeah, I do. And people often think that there's a lot of things that get involved, and there's lots of different herbs and spells, and lots of different tools, and this and that. When really, it's more about manifestation. Yeah, for me, spell work's a lot like manifestation. It's like the power of attraction. It's putting your energy and intention out there to get back what you want to get, what you want to achieve. And generally when people ask me about spells, or if I have any tips or advice or anything like that, I always tell them that I've got a couple of what I class as go-to spells, the ones that I always use. I have 3 altogether, but the one I'm going to tell you about today is the Lost and Found spell. And that's the one that I get people asking me about the most, because we all lose stuff. I lose stuff. My children lose stuff. My husband definitely loses stuff. So we often use this one at home as well. But I thought I'd tell you a little bit about this spell, and it's one that I wrote myself, or when I say wrote, because it's not really very long, it's one that I came up with myself, and it's one that I used, I would say the first time I did it was probably about 20 years ago, thereabouts. It's one I've used a lot, with a lot of success. So firstly, what you would need to do is to get yourself into a position where you can either sit and focus and put your energy on the item that you're wanting to find, or if you have a picture of the item that you're wanting to find. It also works with animals. One of my cats, who sadly we don't have anymore, he died a few years ago, but quite a few years ago he went missing. So I used the spell and had a photograph of him, and he was missing for days. And then I did the spell, and within about an hour he just kind of sauntered back home, as cats do. But I like to think that it was a little bit of the spell that worked as well. But I'm going to tell you a story first about this spell and the success that I've had with it, just so that you can see, just kind of for a spell so small and little, how powerful it can actually be. So a very long time ago, I was gifted a ring by a friend of mine, and I loved it, and I used to wear it on my wedding ring finger, and I would wear it on there. And when my husband and I got engaged, I didn't wear it anymore because it used to go on that finger. So he wore it one day, and he went to a football match with the ring on. And at some point through the day, he realised that it wasn't on his finger anymore. He'd had it on his little finger, and it had slipped off. It was winter, it was cold, and your fingers kind of get a bit smaller in the winter. So it had slipped off, and at some point through the day, he'd lost it. And obviously I was a bit upset about that. But a few years later, I thought to myself, I'm going to try that Lost and Found spell. I'm going to see if I can get that ring back. So I cast the spell. And as I say, it's just as simple as saying a few words whilst thinking of the item you want to get back. So I cast the spell and sent it out into the universe, that I wanted to get my ring back. And then the only thing then you do is you wait and you see what happens. And then a little bit after that, I was working in a school, in a local school. I used to be a counsellor in schools. And a kid came in to see me for a revision session. And this lad said, he was wearing a ring. And I said, oh, I used to have a ring like that. And he said, oh, it's weird, isn't it? I found it on my way to a football match. So I was like, oh God, he's got my ring. And he took it off and showed me, and it had like a little dent in the band. And I was like, that's definitely my ring. And he was like, well, you're not having it back. So I'm like, well, okay, fair play, universe. You found my ring, but I haven't got it. But, at least I knew that it wasn't lost anymore. And then time went on, and about a year or so after that, the school was closing down. Schools closed down. And we were packing up the school, and I went into the computer room, and I was having a cup of tea in there with the staff in there. And one of the guys, they were emptying out the desk, and there was like a money bag full of stuff, and they said that was the stuff that had been confiscated off some of the kids, but they'd never ever come back for it. So it was, you know, some earrings, bits of jewellery, bits and pieces like that. And they're like, well, what should we do with it? And he kind of emptied it onto the desk, and there was the ring. And I was like, oh my God, that's my ring. And I explained the story that my husband had lost it on the way to the football match, and this kid had found it on the way to the football match. And it turns out that he'd had the ring confiscated, because you're not allowed to wear jewellery in school, but he'd never ever come back to claim it. And this particular kid had been left for a good year and a half at this point. He'd left school. He was year 11 when I spoke to him, so he'd sat his exams and he'd gone, and that was that. So they gave me the ring, and there's the ring there. So I've got the ring back, and as you can see, it's got a little bit of a dent on the band, and that was missing for probably about 4 years, and then it came back to me, and that was because of the spell that I had cast. And that's it there. Excuse my very dry hands. I have terrible dry hands, but there you go. And that's my ring that I then got back. So, as you can see, for me, this spell has been particularly successful over the years. So, I want to teach you the spell now. So what you would do is, as I say, you can either get a photograph of the item or the object or animal or person or whatever it is you want to find, the thing that's lost that you want to get back. So you'd get a picture of it, or you would sit and kind of put your focus onto that item so that you have it in your mind, so that you can visualise it in your mind and see it in front of you. And you then imagine that you've got it back. You imagine it back into your hands or into your life or however you want, but you visualise in your mind as if it's happening that you have the item back. And then you say these words: let the object of affection wake now from a dream, as I cause what's unseen to become seen. Let the object of affection wake now from a dream, as I cause what's unseen to become seen. And I'm going to put that text in the description so that you'll be able to pick that up if you didn't manage to get it written down when I was saying it then. And as I say, this is one that I wrote myself. I didn't get out of any book or anything. Those are always the best spells, by the way, if you write your own. And I'll do a video on that at some point. And next week I'm going to do a video on my other go-to spell, my favourite spell, which is a knot spell. And these are the ones that anyone who comes to my classes, these are the ones that I teach them as kind of like basic everyday spells. You don't need any other ingredients. They don't need any herbs or potions or tools or anything. It's literally, you can do it while you're sat on the sofa, you can do it while the kettle's boiling, while you're making yourself a brew. It's so simple, and that's probably why it's one of my favourite ones, because why make it harder than it needs to be? So that's the Lost and Found spell, and that's one of my favourites. If anybody does have any request for anything that you would like me to do a video on, then please let me know. You can follow me on Instagram. I have the same name as I have on YouTube, and also I have a Facebook group. And if you're local to the area, I run various workshops and everything too. So, and this is my therapy room. Do you like it? I love it. I think it's great. And this is in my garden. So this is where I do my therapy. So if you ever come to see me for any Reiki or crystals or a massage, or even for any one-to-one training like Reiki learning or any of my witchy classes or psychic development stuff, I do offer those one-to-one as well. This is where my clients come. And it's just a really nice chilled out space. So, thank you very much for joining me today. I'm going to drink the rest of my tea now and bid you farewell.